Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely fascinating educational model. We're looking at how one university is actively trying to heal the age-old split between modern secular skills and deeply rooted religious ethics. It's essentially a journey into an educational philosophy that tries to bring the whole human being, mind, body, and spirit, right back into the classroom. Let's get right into it.
So, think about this for a second. What actually happens when our education systems separate the mind from the soul? It's a foundational question because, let's be honest, historically our global education systems have been pretty deeply divided. On one side, you've got pure secular sciences, and on the other, religious or ethical studies. And the result? Well, we often churn out highly skilled professionals who might be completely disconnected from any sort of broader ethical compass. It creates this dichotomy that leaves us wondering, are we just training workers or are we developing complete human beings?
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. 1. The education dichotomy problem. 2. What is integration of knowledge? 3. Economics, de-Westernizing the discipline. 4. Medicine, healing body and soul. 5. Engineering a holistic future. And finally, 6. A universal educational vision.
Starting off with Section 1, the education dichotomy problem.
The story really picks up momentum back in 1977 at the First World Conference on Muslim Education in Makkah. Scholars gathered there they identified a really severe underlying crisis. Basically, a colonial education dichotomy that fractured national, secular systems completely away from traditional religious ones. The big proposed solution to bridge this gap? An integrated curriculum. And this bold idea is actually what directly led to the birth of the International Islamic University, Malaysia, or IIUM, in 1983. Fast forward to today, and wow, this isn't just some theoretical experiment anymore. It's grown into a massive global movement with over 105,000 alumni worldwide. To put that in perspective, that is enough people to pack a massive sports stadium.
Moving right along to Section 2, what exactly is integration of knowledge?
The whole core concept driving this reform is the integration of knowledge, or IOK for short. It's this unified educational philosophy that looks at the barrier between religious sciences and modern secular sciences and says, hey, that's completely artificial. So instead of separating them into distinct silos, IOK actively tries to harmonize human reason right alongside divine moral guidance. Think of it as a totally holistic approach. It's carefully designed to nurture the cognitive, spiritual, and behavioral aspects of a student's personality all at the exact same time. That way, they aren't just memorizing facts for a test, they're actually learning how to live well.
Actually, Professor Mohammed Kamal Hassan, the former rector of IIUM, clarifies a really common misconception about this perfectly. He said, the aim is to bring and fit modern knowledge into the worldview of Islam, not its conversion. Let that sink in for a second. Basically, IOK isn't about rejecting or replacing modern science, not at all. It's about taking those critical modern disciplines and aligning them with universal moral principles. The goal is to ensure that scientific and academic advancements are fundamentally designed to serve humanity better.
But you might be wondering, how do professors actually pull this off in a modern classroom? Well, Professor Kamal Hassan outlined this brilliant step-by-step framework for academics. And what makes it so effective is that it totally removes the intimidation factor for secularly trained teachers. It's progressive. It starts out simple at step 1, just normal teaching, keeping an eye out for future change. Then step 2, comparing conventional perspectives with ethical ones. Next, in step 3, it moves to promoting those perspectives using traditional sources. And finally, it hits the big time at step 4, true innovation, where academics reconstruct completely new knowledge based on firm moral values. It means absolutely anyone can jump in and participate in this integration, no matter their starting point.
Let's look at a practical example in Section 3, economics, de-Westernizing the discipline.
Okay, so if you look at your standard economics degree, it generally has a laser focus on conventional Western economic theories, right? Maximizing profit, utility, endless growth, the whole shebang. But integrated economics at IUM, totally different paradigm. Now, they don't just ignore Western theories. Instead, they present them and then critically analyze them through an ethical Islamic viewpoint. It's basically a comparative approach. It questions the underlying values of standard models, asking not just how to generate wealth, but how that wealth actually impacts the community and human dignity. It really changes the conversation. To actually make this comparative approach work, the program's structure is incredibly deliberate. They lay down these massive ethical foundations right out of the gate. First-year students take core subjects in creed, law, and morality right at the beginning. So by the time they transition to those high-level conventional economic courses in their fourth year, they've got the intellectual tools to handle complex, sometimes downright ruthless market theories without losing their moral compass. They learn the rules of the market for sure, but with a deeply ingrained sense of fairness.
Next up, Section 4, Medicine, Healing Body and Soul.
A recent journal editorial from the IIUM Kuliah of Medicine really anchors us in how this looks in the real world. It introduces the post-COVID Sejahtera academic framework. Now, Sejahtera is a local concept that basically means sustainable, holistic living. And this framework was built on 4 pillars: empowerment, flexibility, innovation, and accountability. It's a very direct, practical response to the absolute urgent need to humanize medical education. We have to ensure that students aren't just treating diseases, they're actually caring for real people. Because, let's face it, there's a very real problem in modern healthcare. We've all seen the standard doctor, right? The one who walks into a hospital room, makes a beeline straight for the computer or the bedside chart, and completely ignores the anxious, vulnerable human being sitting in the bed. IUM is aiming to produce the balanced doctor. This is a physician who actually greets the patient, treats them as an irreplaceable whole person, and understands that true healing has to happen physically, mentally, and spiritually. At the end of the day, patients desperately need a doctor whose raw medical skill is perfectly matched by empathy and warmth. It's a total game changer.
Moving on to Section 5, Engineering a Holistic Future. Now, engineering is obviously heavily technical, but there's often this huge gap when it comes to integrating knowledge across different courses. I mean, even with a stellar curriculum, if a student learns chemical, civil, and electrical engineering in isolated little silos, they totally miss the big picture. They really need to understand how all these disciplines connect to be effective out in the field, especially when they're faced with messy, real-world infrastructure problems.
And when you successfully integrate that engineering knowledge, the benefits are absolutely massive. It doesn't just close the gap between those isolated courses, it creates engineers who are perfectly equipped for complex problem solving. Because they have this diverse, holistic skill set, these graduates don't just know how to build a bridge, they know how to build it with technical brilliance and deep ethical responsibility. And guess what? As a result, their employability just skyrockets. They become incredibly sought-after leaders in today's demanding job market.
Bringing it all together in our final section, 6, a universal educational vision.
I want you to consider the number 613. That is IIUM's exact rank in the 2026 QS World University Rankings. Now, I bring this up because, well, a really common fear is that focusing heavily on ethics and values might somehow dilute the quality of the hard sciences. But this ranking, it completely proves that the integrated approach does not sacrifice academic excellence. No way! It actively competes and thrives right out there on the global stage.
Plus, this framework carries some incredible sociological value, especially for minority communities all over the world. By focusing so deeply on both spiritual and intellectual development, the integration of knowledge provides a vital, unshakable anchor for identity. It really helps minority populations preserve their unique character and values, giving them that inner strength, while still perfectly enabling them to live in peace, harmony, and active contribution alongside the majority society.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate stakes of this educational philosophy. Think about it. Purely secular development has given us incredible material and physical progress. Absolutely. But often at the cost of severe environmental and moral crises. Why? Because human reason got completely divorced from a higher ethical will. Holistic development brings it all back together. It unifies the body, mind, and soul. And while the integration of knowledge is rooted in an Islamic framework, its goal of ensuring human reason aligns with moral goodness to prevent worldly destruction, well, that's a deeply universal human pursuit. It's all about using knowledge to build society up rather than break it down.
So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. Think about your own educational background. Did the schools you attended just fill your head with facts and technical skills, or did they actively prepare both your intellect and your moral compass? It's a tricky balance, but one we absolutely have to strive for. Thanks so much for exploring this explainer with me, and I'll catch you in the next one.